Hey guys, this is Settle for Three. Joey, Cameron, Evan. Guys, it's Super Bowl week. Are you guys excited about that?
I'm so pumped. We're just 1 week away from the end of all the exciting things happening.
You pumped or depressed?
I'm both.
Okay.
It's one of those things that comes in a culmination of the entire season for
Yeah.
both college and NFL.
Okay. Cam, how you feeling?
I'm it's a down time of year for sure when it comes to football. I'm genuinely gonna miss it, but we have a great week coming. So
All
yeah,
right.
looking forward to it.
Well, before we can get into the Super Bowl, it's time for our Settle for Three newsroom with our very own Cameron.
Absolutely. Alrighty. For this week, we have first and foremost Ryan Grubb going to Alabama, doing something that Nick Saban could never do, bringing the revolutionary offensive mind to Alabama. In his 2 seasons as OC at Washington, Grubb was one of the best offensive minds, led by a 2022 season with 300, averaging 370 passing yards per game. That was most in the country. Super excited to see what he can do. Is this Alabama hire what they need to get back on top? Moving to Chip Kelly, moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders. $350,000 wasn't a large enough buyout to keep him at Ohio State. In his lone season at Ohio State, he had a top 30 offense and all offensive stats. Honestly, I was a little surprised it wasn't even higher than that. The big two key points as he moves on, while the salary increases at the Raiders, do you think that this is actually a better job, just knowing what the Raiders have gone through in recent years as far as their OC? And then also with Ohio State losing both an offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator in the last 2 weeks, how will Ryan Day reload next year? Moving to Jack Birch, the MVP from the Senior Bowl. He had a great opportunity where he actually came out and showcased everything that he had in this year's Senior Bowl. He had a game-leading 6 catches for 68 yards, including a game-winning touchdown over their opponent. It was a very heartfelt moment that he had at the end of the game, as he did this after his brother had tragically been killed in the New Orleans attack at New Year's. So wishing him all the best in the upcoming draft. Moving to the Pac-12 and the fines. For those wondering, yes, the Pac-12 does technically still exist with all 2 teams that are actually in the conference. They have recently gone through and there are $125 million in fines that are being assessed to the various Pac-12 schools that have actually departed from the conference. Kind of crazy to see how this works out. Each one is intended to pay $5 million in fines this year alone. And then last but not least, Mahomes on the injury report. For the third time in his career, 2019 and 2023 being the two others, he has an injury to his right ankle. Will this ankle injury play a factor in the upcoming Super Bowl? Pretty crazy thing to be talking about final week of the year.
All right, Cam, I got a question for you real quick. Is everyone so excited about Grubb? I mean, I feel like the problem with Alabama is their lack of discipline and they're not getting the same, or other teams are getting the same recruits they're getting. I just don't know that this moves the needle for me. Why does it move the needle for you?
I think this moves the needle in every direction as an Alabama guy. Alabama's OC, running blank in the name at the moment from last season, was not exactly the most incredible hire. We knew that coming in. Ryan Grubb was a name that Nick Saban was actually trying to get after the 2021 season, and he was unable to do so. I think he was actually one of the big reasons that DeBoer was originally hired at Alabama. And then when he went into the NFL to take the job at the Seahawks, it was a bit of an astonishing thing that if he was ever going to come back. So this is actually a really big thing for him to be coming back to Alabama. He's an offensive mind, and he's really a quarterback coach. So I'm curious to see what he's able to do there.
Who is
Yeah,
their
and
quarterback?
if I may,
I
if I
know.
may, just kind of on that point, it's actually a really cool thing, right? Because you look at the absolute dynasty of Saban, and Saban was a lot more of a defensive mind than anything else, if we're being honest. He was a really traditionalist kind of guy. That's how he ran his team. DeBoer, he has really flipped ahead at Alabama. He's a lot more of an offensive guy. He's a big quarterback coach kind of guy. And finally having somebody that can come in and kind of create a powerhouse of an offense, it's an exciting time for Alabama, and
Yeah,
maybe not quite as much of a pessimistic outtake as I would have had if they hadn't had somebody come in like this.
Joey, to further on that point, the quarterback, what's his name? Michael Penix, in his career year, his senior year, that was also under Ryan Grubb, as was the
Hmm.
prior year. The offensive mind that we think of DeBoer as having, he is an offensive mind, you're right, but I think his secret sauce really is Ryan Grubb as OC
Yeah,
under him. Those 2 years where they blew up, he was the supporting cast, and he
agreed.
was quarterback coach for those 2 seasons.
Yeah, agreed.
I just watched a team that couldn't even put on the right pair of shoes for their bowl game. I just think that they have so many issues with just being a disciplined football team. And,
Yeah.
and until they solve that, I just don't know that they're going to be national championship caliber. Do you disagree
Yeah,
with
let,
that?
There's
let me
a
tell you, this isn't going to fix
No, I
Alabama
agree.
by any means,
But
but
step in the right
it
direction.
is probably, yeah, it's probably the best hire that they could have gotten at the OC position.
unless they
Right.
took Chip Kelly.
All right. So, Evan, I want to get your thoughts, if you have any, on Chip Kelly, because he took this job because he's getting paid $6 million. Do you think
Yeah,
he's taking this job because of Gardner Minshew? And they had the sixth overall pick. So the top two quarterbacks aren't even going to be there at six overall. So he's with Gardner Minshew, or they are trading up.
I think he's taking this for a couple different reasons. Gardner Minshew, absolutely. You also got Brock Bowers. You got the sixth overall pick. You have a lot of things coming into this year. It's a really exciting time to be on the offense at the Raiders. And let's be honest, the Raiders are one of those teams. They have no direction to go but up at this point,
Yeah,
and they
well, when you're
have
at the
all the
bottom.
tools. Yeah, and they have all the tools to be there, which is kind of a sad fact. I mean, there were a lot of people out there, including myself, calling for Brock Bowers to be the rookie of the year. But unfortunately, because of the season that the Raiders had, he didn't have a chance to be that. On the other side, Ohio State, they're going to be in a lot of hole going forward. I mean, you don't know who they're going to get. The nice part is they have one of the biggest budgets in college football, so they could get almost anybody they want that has any sense of maybe not as loyal to their school that they're at now. But there's so many unknowns going into next year. So I think it's a great opportunity for the Raiders going forward, and so many unknowns for Ohio State.
Yeah, Cam, I don't know if you agree with me, but you got to have the personnel, the coach. And Gardner Minshew, okay, he's a really solid backup. He's won games in the NFL as a starter with Jacksonville. But we all know he's not the long-term solution. And they're drafting six, which means Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward aren't
Correct.
going to be gone. There's no other quarterback that's going to be drafted in the first round except Milrow, but I think he's a reach for the first round, and he's going to be picked in like the late 20s. But Cam, I don't get this move outside of the financial aspect of him getting $6 million. I mean, I would take that.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think it was almost purely financial, and I think he doesn't want to be in the NIL, craziness of college football. I think that being an NFL OC is probably easier right now than being a college football OC. I think that's what he wanted it out of more than anything.
Evan, I don't really have anything to add on Pac-12 or Jack Beck. I mean, these schools in the Pac-12, they got so much money. I mean, they're swimming in money. They'll just pay these fines and move on. And then Jack Beck was obviously a tremendous story.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, conferences, schools, they get hit with fines all the time. They're basically just passing around money at this point. And yeah, Jack Beck, really cool Senior Bowl MVP. But I mean, let's be honest, there's not a whole lot of story there.
And then Patrick Mahomes on the injury report with an ankle issue, whatever it is. Don't worry, Chiefs fans. He's going to play. He's going to be fine. It is very common for NFL teams to list any and all injuries on the injury report. He practiced all of it last week. Okay. Now, if you want to say something, Barkley didn't practice at all last week. He's going to play, and we know he's just getting rest. Patrick Mahomes played. in practice. He's going to be there on Sunday.
Let's also just point out that he had an ankle injury in 2023 when they beat in the Super Bowl the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, he probably tweaked it. I mean, he played the whole game in Buffalo.
Yep. Who knows? Who knows what
Yeah.
it actually is? Yeah.
He's going to be. Cam, you worried about Mahomes at all?
Yeah, actually, I am.
Really?
You're talking about one of the best defensive lines, one of the best defensive fronts in football with the Eagles. It's probably the best, just sheer talent. We're going to get into it in a second. Yeah, if they're able to essentially stop him from being any form of dual threat, even on play action, I think that is a major risk going forward.
Guys, let's get into this game. Final game of the NFL season this season, and we're getting a rematch of 2 years ago. The Eagles versus the Chiefs. Kansas City is a 1.5 point favorite. The over-under is 48.5. It actually opened at 49.5 and then dropped points. It stayed there for probably the last 7 days since I've been checking. You got two very well-matched teams. The Eagles are just an outstanding team. I mean, if you look at their numbers on paper they should win this game. Cam, I want to start with you. The bettors think this is a toss-up. Do you agree?
I see where you're getting the toss up there. It's genuinely a really hard take. So you have on one side raw talent versus on the other side, it's a lot of experience in both coaching and in players.
Yeah.
But what's funny is the deeper that I dove into the numbers around the raw talent side, yes, it's there. Saquon isn't a rookie. Jalen Hurts is in his 5th year now. Like you start going into these different numbers. The Eagles, when they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, that was a rookie team. That was a young team. This
Fair.
isn't a rookie team that hasn't been there. They know what it's like. And another big thing that I look at is Nick Sirianni's winning percentage over the last couple of years. He's over 70%. The only other coach to do that is Andy Reid. Yeah, it's going to be a heck of a game for them to be there. As far as my general thoughts on the game, I think Jalen Hurts takes really well to adversity. In 2017, it's probably the best comparison I have. He was benched against Georgia in the national championship for college football. In the 2018 SEC title, he actually came in to relieve Tua, who came in the prior year for him, and he was able to win the game. He learned to pass. Whenever Jalen finds himself in a crappy situation where he doesn't quite know what to do, he has a great knack for figuring it out moving forward. Now, the other thing I really like, we can talk all day about Saquon. I really like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside. I think they're excellent. My one other big thing for the Eagles, on 3rd and 4th and short, do not just do a tush push. We found out last week that, Chris Jones can kind of stop that. On 33% of the Bills' attempts last week, the Chiefs actually stopped him on 4th and less than 1. That's not good. Moving over to the Chiefs side of things, you have Travis Kelce, who's now 35 years old. He was the leading receiver this season, which is crazy because we all think of Mahomes as having these astronomical numbers, and they weren't. He's just methodical and efficient.
Second worst statistical season as a starter for him.
Exactly. And they went through a couple of running backs. You had to bring Kareem Hunt back on. Isaiah Pacheco has been playing good. The entire roster just plays well. Are they the best? No. That's when you look at the Eagles. But when it comes down to that raw coaching, it's really hard to go against the Chiefs.
That was that. Are you hinting at that's going to be your pick?
All right. I am not going with the Chiefs. I'm going with the Eagles. You ask if I could see this going either way. The answer is yes. It's going to be an absolutely amazing game. The deeper I got to this, the more interesting it became. I think that Jalen is ready to get over that hump that, Josh Allen couldn't last week. It's going to be an awesome matchup.
Evan, I got a question for you. If Jalen Hurts has to throw the ball a lot, I feel like the Chiefs are winning this game.
Totally agree. Yeah. Kind of like Cameron, the more I dove into this game, the more I've changed my pick for this one probably 5 times.
Same here.
And there's so much because on paper, the Eagles should absolutely win this game. But on the other side, the Chiefs have had such success in the playoffs that they should also absolutely win this game. Cameron, you and I, we were texting back and forth earlier. We said this is a game between talent on the field and coaching.
Hmm.
Yep.
And you said in our text, talent's going to win. I'm kind of the opposite mind. Until somebody shows me that they can beat Andy Reid and the Chiefs, I just don't know that it's going to happen. And it absolutely should, because the Chiefs, their defense really hasn't been that great, especially against the run this year, which the Eagles have been just phenomenal, both with Saquon and also Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's a phenomenal rusher. The problem is a lot of the games that they have created on the defense, they have created a really one-dimensional type of offense on the other side. They've shut down either the pass or the run and gone all in on one of those two. And the offenses on the other side just haven't been able to counter. So I'm going the Chiefs on this one. I just think Andy Reid is too good a coach. He's going to lock down on the defensive side of things. And we saw that against the Bills in a lot of different ways. Josh Allen is no pushover, especially when he's trying to run it right up the gut. We all kind of alluded to this last week or the week before, that this Super Bowl kind of was, I hate to say it, the Chiefs and Bills game, but like those were two of the best teams. I would say that this is the best team in I'm not going to say second best. I would say tied for second best team in the league right now. But I have to go to the Chiefs in this one until somebody can say that the Chiefs can lose in the Super Bowl or just the postseason in general. I have to take them. Andy Reid, this is his 13th season with the Chiefs. His 14 prior to that as a head coach was with the Eagles. He kind of knows that locker room. He kind of knows that staff. It's obviously a different one, but he knows how to win.
So Sirianni has really rebuilt this thing. A couple of years ago when Jalen Hurts was in there, Joey, you were asking, can he get passing yards if push comes to shove? He had over 300 yards through the air 2 years ago.
Yeah, he was.
Jalen
Didn't
can,
he win MVP that year?
yeah, Jalen can absolutely ball out if
But
things come out,
he's an afterthought on this offense. I mean, Saquon's been so good,
which is insane.
and the defense
He's an
is so
afterthought
good.
on an offense that is loaded with weapons. This is like looking at
Yeah.
Ohio State and going, "Oh my God, there's not one player on there because they're all fantastic."
I just want to say one thing on this, because my original thought was I was going to take the Eagles on this one, especially because I thought it was going to be a close game. And if it could be a close game, the Eagles would win. Problem is, the last 17 games that were decided by a score or less, the
Yeah.
Chiefs have
Yeah.
won.
Yeah.
So I got to take them.
So, Cam, quick question for you. Kansas City reminds me of that college team that has a lot of flaws when you watch them, but they just find a way to win games. Like for me, it was '06 Gators. Like I'm sure Alabama had a team like that where it was just like, okay, this team maybe isn't the best team this year, but they won a national championship because they just found ways to win.
We didn't win a natty, but the closest thing I can compare it to is I think 2021 is when we had Bryce Young, and it was his Heisman campaign, and we found ourselves in multiple games throughout the stretch where we were down. I think that was the season we lost to Tennessee, we lost to LSU, but he played excellent, and while there were flaws, we still found a way into the playoff. So I agree
Yeah.
with you, Joey.
Yeah. So my quick take on who's going to win, guys, I've been going back and forth like you two all week. One day I wake up and I say Eagles. The other day I'm like, how can you not pick the Chiefs? I think the Eagles could win this game by 2 scores if everything goes their way. If you look back to Super Bowl 55 4 years ago, Tampa Bay ran Kansas City out of the building. I could see a situation where Philly runs away with it. I think KC wins or Kansas City wins if the difference in points is 5 points or less. So I think you're either going to see the Nick Sirianni crowning, he's a great coach moment, and he just does it. If it's a close game, in the fourth quarter, man, I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs.
I get it.
Yeah. I mean, my head tells me Eagles. My heart just says you can't go against Patrick Mahomes. And I think we all felt that way when Brady was running the show in New England, right? It's just kind of like, what are you gonna do?
He's just the GOAT.
Yeah. So we'll have more on this game coming up in our segment later this week. But right now, Evan, let's get to our last word.
Great. So this week, really want to talk about the Pro Bowl. And I just want to throw it to you guys. Back in 2022, prior, the Pro Bowl was an actual game. Now it is a skills game in flag football. I mean, for either of you guys, does the Pro Bowl mean anything anymore?
Absolutely nothing. I don't even think they should. I think it should just be Pro Bowl on paper.
Yeah.
You know, like we had two Panthers players in it this year, and one of them was in tug of war, and the other one was in flag football, which flag football is kind of cool, but like, or like the relay race, but like tug of war, like, come on, man, like what it,
Yeah.
The Pro Bowl is two things. It's a roster, and it's the NFLPA Players Association just saying, "Hey, you guys get a cookie at the end of the year." It's completely pointless.
Yeah. It's become less important, in my opinion, than even the what is it called, the first team All-American selections in college. It really it might as well just be that, just saying, hey, these people were the best. And that's all it is.
And the worst part is the players from the teams in the Super Bowl aren't even in the Pro Bowl because they're not going to put them out there and have them get injured, right before the Super Bowl. So no one from the Eagles and no one from the Chiefs, the two best teams, are even there. So what are you watching as a fan?
So Joey, to that word there, because this is kind of what I was thinking about. Yeah. Would the Pro Bowl finally mean something if they switched it to after the Super Bowl? Would that bring it back to where they could actually be a little bit more physical again and then have the whole offseason to prepare for the next season?
I don't think there's a solution to bringing a real physical football game back. I just think with the attention on how dangerous the sport is. I mean, we talked about this 3 weeks ago with all the roughing the quarterback and late hit penalties and how sometimes it's outrageous and quarterbacks take advantage of it. I mean, you just can't. If you're not going to play a full football game, then if you're going 50%, no one's going to care. And that's what the Pro Bowl was for so long in Hawaii, was it was just 50%.
I think if the league really cares, each one of these guys has a foundation set up in their name, for some sort of charitable fund. The league should be donating 50 grand just, as an honor. Hey, congratulations for making the Pro Bowl. We don't need you to play another game. Don't subject your body to it. Don't watch our stupid games that nobody's going to watch. But we're going to, donate. If they really stand behind the Man of the Year stuff, then I think that would be an excellent way of spending a few dollars and, actually giving it to places that matter.
Or what about a bonus for players that make it, or make it mandatory that teams put a Pro Bowl?
It's in the players' contracts anyway. It's in the players' contracts anyway. If Myles Garrett makes a Pro Bowl, then he's automatically getting a $300,000 bonus.
Yeah,
right. And that's the hard part, right? Like this, they're getting a bonus for something that honestly nobody cares about. When we were all growing up, Pro Bowl was kind of cool to watch. You're watching your favorite players play an actual game with other players that you love from another team. Like, that was really, really cool. I don't really know what the solution is. I don't know if it's just playing half quarters or even a third of a quarter full out, whatever it is. But play something other than a skills game in flag football, or play a whole flag football game just all out. I'd love to see how fast some of these players could be and really go after somebody else. But you can't right now.
What about arena football?
Yeah.
Love that.
I want to see the Pro Bowl versus the XFL match of the absolute pinnacle of talent.
That'd be fantastic.
That would be entertaining.
So I'm all about doing a full flag football game, but then what are offensive linemen going to do? Right. I mean, you're not going to rush the passer in that situation.
Yeah, there's no good solution to it. It really stinks that the Pro Bowl, it means nothing anymore. I mean, I have more fun watching the I mean, all the draft tests more than this. I really have more fun watching somebody run a 40-yard dash 3 times than watching somebody in the Pro Bowl
Don't, yeah,
try and rip the
Evan,
flag off of somebody else.
don't
It's not fun anymore.
don't even say that though, because now they're going to bring in skill sets to try and bring back combine-like activities for the next Pro Bowl, and that's not
If
what
we
anybody's
have
going to care about either.
They had a
if we
game
have
show
that much
too.
power, if we have that much power, I'll take it.
They had a game show at this year's Pro Bowl where players went in like a game show setting. Like, come on, man. Like, who's
No.
watching
Yeah.
this? I mean, I'm sure there's fans that love going to it in Orlando and have a good time. So, I don't think we want to take that away from the fans, but there's got to be a better way to, maybe if you just do autograph signings and the players go to Orlando to party, or probably somewhere better than Orlando, right? But
Put them on a
Yeah.
cruise ship and then donate to their foundations.
yeah,
I'd love that. Just hey, here's a meet and greet with your Pro Bowlers. I'd like
Yeah.
that more than just watching, 56 guys on a field just
Not caring.
doing whatever.
All right,
So,
guys.
Agreed.
All right, guys. Well, if you don't like watching the Pro Bowl, we hope you like watching us. So, Evan, what should people do as soon as they're done watching this episode?
as soon as you're done with this, if you are catching this late, you should catch our next episode. But regardless of anything, like, comment, subscribe. We love hearing your comments. I can't tell you more than anybody else that we can call you out on them. Like it, subscribe, share with your friends, and follow us on everything you see there listed.